Welcome to Dashing Dish. I'm pregnant. The secret is out, and I'm so excited to share my story with all of you. Today's menu includes bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches, layered spaghetti squash lasagna, and, to satisfy that sweet tooth in all of us, peanut butter cup yogurt. I'm Katie Farrell, and I'm sharing my pregnancy journey and cravings with all of you today. When it was Maddie's third birthday, Sean and I both decided that we were ready to have another baby. And so we didn't really know what that journey would look like because with Maddie, it took us over 3 years to get pregnant. So we were kind of just, being hopeful and optimistic. But I'll never forget when it was Maddie's fourth birthday, and she was blowing out her candles, and my mom asked her, "Maddie, what do you want for your birthday?" Yeah. And what did she say?
She said a baby sister.
She said a baby
very specifically sister.
And so everybody kind of gasped and held their breath. And I think at that moment,
they all thought it was the reveal.
Yes.
Almost, yeah.
They thought that we were going to share the news that we were pregnant. And that was a pretty hard moment for us.
Yeah.
Because, we weren't pregnant at that time. And just a few weeks after her birthday, I was getting dressed in my closet, and Maddie looked at me and she said, "Mommy, there's a baby in your tummy." And of course, I just thought she was being a typical 4-year-old and, just saying something that she hoped for. And I said, "How do you know that, Maddie?" And she said, "God told me." And when she said that, I stopped in my tracks because Maddie had never said anything like that before, that God had spoken to her. And just about a week later, I decided I'll take a pregnancy test. And lo and behold, I was pregnant. So the morning that I decided I was going to tell Sean, I told him that we were going to be filming a segment for Cornerstone, and it was for 4th of July.
It was like 6:30 in the morning.
Yes,
so.
Very early. I couldn't wait. So first thing when I rolled out of bed, I said, "We're going to do a cooking segment." I thought that you would catch on for sure.
Definitely did not catch on.
I thought there's no way he'll believe that I'm doing a cooking segment at 6:30 in the morning. But he did. He totally bought it. I knew we had to make donuts. I turned around as he was whipping up the frosting for the donuts, pulled out of the oven a little onesie that said "God answered" and the pregnancy test that was positive. And when he looked at it, he was in complete and total shock.
Yes.
And we just cried and hugged and laughed. We were just so amazed at what God had done. And we went to our first doctor's appointment, a few weeks into the pregnancy, and something seemed a little bit off. They mentioned that the baby appeared to be about 2 weeks behind in growth. And I didn't know at the time, but that was actually a really big deal. And the doctor said, "We'll have you come back in about a week and we'll see where the baby is and how things are looking." And so when we went back to our appointment about a week later, the doctor only took about a second to look, and he said, "I'm so sorry, Sean and Katie." And he stepped out of the room and he gave us a moment. And I remember that moment, I looked at Sean, and God had really been preparing my heart throughout that week that we were waiting. And he had shown me so many different moments and glimpses of hope for the future, but he also reminded me that it is better to have one day in his courts than thousands elsewhere. And that's when I knew that whether our baby was here with us or in heaven with him, that there could be no greater place to be than in the presence of Jesus. And so I just was filled with this peace and this hope that was really unexplainable in that moment. And I looked at Sean and I said, "God will redeem this." Yeah. And so we went about 2 months with my body healing and just healing on the inside and just really processing what had happened and grieving the loss of our baby. And then I found out the day that we had a family photo shoot in the early fall that I was pregnant again. I found out the due date is the exact day that I told Sean I was pregnant with the baby that we lost. So June 30th is the due date of this little boy, and it truly is full circle because it was one of the hardest days that I could ever remember looking back. But now it's one that has such hope and such life filled with it. And so I share this story and, where God brought us and what He's brought us through. And now I'm sitting here 6 months pregnant with a healthy baby boy. And it may not be the sister that Maddie had hoped for and wished for her birthday, but she is just in love and in awe of this little boy that's growing in my tummy. And we are so thankful in so many ways, but more than anything, I'm thankful that heaven is our home, that we have that hope that we'll be able to see our baby and meet that baby again one day.
Don't make me cry.
I can't. Oh, okay. And that we have the hope of Jesus, who truly does bring redemption, not only in specific circumstances in our lives, but He is our Redeemer just overall. He's the one that saves our souls, and He's the one that heals us and restores us. And I can honestly say that through this season of our lives, that the one thing that I learned the most and drew from the most was the peace that passes all understanding that comes from the Father above. He truly did give us a deep peace, knowing that He would restore, but also He comforted us in a way that only He can.
It's true.
On today's show, we're going to be sharing with you guys a look into my pregnancy journey. And this is my second pregnancy. And we have a little girl who's 4 years old, and her name's Maddie. And this is a little boy. Yeah. So it's a whole new experience this time. We have a little bit of an idea what to expect because we have a lot of nephews.
Nephews. 5 nephews. So.
Yes, but a boy added to our family. That's something that will be all very new to us. So we're excited, and I'm almost in my 3rd trimester now, so I'm way past all of the yucky parts of the first trimester where I was sleeping all the time, feeling sick, all the fun stuff. And during my first trimester, there was very little that I could eat. You remember this?
Yes.
And I normally don't have that problem. Of course, I love to cook and bake, and so I was just kind of at a loss. What do I eat? And one of the things that I could count on every single time that just kind of hit the spot in that first trimester were egg, bacon, and cheese sandwiches. And of course, I made my own because that's what we do, right? I make my own. So this is really simple. You don't even have to buy English muffins. These homemade biscuits are ready in less than 25 minutes. And we have some bacon on a sheet pan, and we're gonna make some eggs that will go on top of them. So Sean, I'll have you start with the eggs. You can just break 4 eggs into the skillet.
Okay.
Yep. And scramble them up with your fork. Add a 1/4 cup of milk of choice, and then salt and pepper to taste.
Okay.
I'm gonna start on the biscuits. We have 2½ cups of oat flour that I'm gonna put into a bowl. 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. Now this might seem a little bit strange to add cheese to a biscuit mixture, but it adds a lot of salt and flavor. And then 2 cups of Greek yogurt. And then to that, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. And I'm gonna mix everything together for these biscuits in the bowl until a dough forms. One of the things that I found is that pregnancy for me really doesn't come with a whole lot of specific cravings, but I definitely have had food aversion. So foods that kind of sound gross to me that I normally like, and then foods that I crave a little bit more than normal. Yeah. What would you say my #1 craving is?
I think it's the same as it was with Maddie. You like strawberries.
Yep, that's right.
So I wonder if Maddie loves strawberries, so I wonder if this boy will love them too.
And I always wonder too with cravings, if it's just something that your body needs specifically in pregnancy. And I think that there is a lot of truth to that. And I think even when you're not pregnant, that's definitely the case. So even if you're watching the show and you're like, I'm not pregnant and I never plan to be, or maybe you're kind of past that point of life where you're like, no thanks to pregnancy anymore, this show can definitely relate to anybody, because I think we all go through times where we have cravings throughout the day.
I have cravings for chocolate almost every day.
So it must be something your body needs.
It must be.
And what we're gonna do here with the eggs is we're gonna just let them cook.
Do you want me to put this in? I
Yes,
put this in.
you can put that in. Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead and add your salt and pepper. I already said to add that so everyone will know that what you're adding.
Is that even? I don't think there's anything in it.
Okay, there might not be. I found that in my mom's.
It's literally empty.
Just pretend.
Okay. Okay. There's nothing on the bottom.
That's okay.
Okay.
Just pretend. So this biscuit dough is looking perfect. It's coming together nicely. So now we're just gonna scoop it onto a sheet pan. So Sean, if you wanna bring that sheet pan over here in front of me. Okay, so we got our dough here, and I'm just gonna put it on a piece of parchment paper just to make sure it doesn't stick when I'm working with it. Now, if you find that this dough is sticky, you can add a little bit of oat flour, sprinkle it out, just like if you were making cookies or any other kind of dough batter. And then another tip is make sure your yogurt is cold. If your yogurt is cold, it will be much less sticky. Lastly, if you want to get your hands a little bit wet with water, it prevents them from sticking a little bit. So I'm just gonna make biscuits out of the dough. Sean, you wanna take a little bit and help me out here?
Sure.
Okay. So I know that you said you of course crave chocolate, but do you feel like you ever have any other kinds of cravings, like salty, sweet things?
I'm always in the mood for something sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody has their own specific cravings, and it's usually a salty or a sweet person. So usually when I talk to people, they'll say, oh yeah, I'm always in the mood for something salty or something sweet.
I have cravings for, specific dishes, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Like your barbecue pasta that you usually make me, like the one that's kind of like Mongolian barbecue, I always crave that. I feel like.
Oh, well that's good. Maybe there's something in that.
It's the sauce, yeah.
Just needs. I found that when I was in the beginning of my pregnancy, the only thing I truly craved was salt. And I actually learned that there was a reason for that. It has to do with your blood pressure increasing. So there's an actual scientific reason that your body is craving salt. Okay, so those eggs are looking about done. When they start to look like they're cooked on top is when they're done. If you have a really deep or a smaller pan and you want to put a lid on top, that will cook the top of the eggs. And these biscuits look great, so we're gonna get these on a sheet pan. The nice thing is you can cook the bacon and the biscuits together in the oven at the same time. 400 degrees, 15 minutes for the bacon or until it's crispy, 20 to 25 minutes for the biscuits. Then we'll pull them out and we'll put them together with the eggs and the cheese and the bacon. So I just grabbed our biscuits and our bacon out of the oven, and the eggs that Sean cooked are all ready to go. I'm giving him a little break, and I'm gonna show you how to put together one of these breakfast sandwiches. So you take one of the biscuits and you just cut it down the middle. It's really easy to cut. It's a little bit firm on the outside, tender on the inside, just like a biscuit should be. Then you can put, obviously, whatever layers that you like best in that order, but I'm gonna start with cheese. And I usually do it in assembly line fashion, so like I'll do 2 or 3 or 4 at a time on my counter. Then I have a mason jar lid. So you could either use the metal kind, you could use the bottom of a glass, whatever works for a circle. And then you just kind of cut the eggs just like you would a cookie cutter with the mason jar lid. Then I'm just gonna take a spatula and bring the eggs out. Put them right on top of the cheese. And then I'm gonna top it with some bacon. Again, this is really just up to your liking, if you like 2 or 3 pieces. And this is something that you can have breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. You could even make them ahead and freeze them. And then put the top on. Now, right before I go to eat one of these, I'll warm it in the microwave just to melt that cheese for about 20 to 30 seconds. and it's absolutely delicious every time. Coming up next, let's continue to bust those cravings with food that's not only delicious, but satisfying. About midway throughout the day, that sweet and salty craving always seems to hit. And when it does, I have the perfect snack. So this is chocolate peanut butter cup yogurt. And I start with about 1 to 2 cups of yogurt, depending on how hungry you are. So I have about 1.5 cups here. And then this is really just to taste. I have cocoa powder, peanut flour, and a little bit of sweetener. Now, peanut flour is oftentimes salted, so if it has salt added, I don't add any, but if it doesn't, then I add just a pinch of my own salt from home. So I have about 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder that I'm gonna add, about 2 tablespoons of peanut flour, and then about 1 tablespoon of sweetener. Then you just mix it all up. The great thing about this recipe is it has a wonderful amount of protein, so it'll keep you satisfied, in addition to quenching that craving. And stir it up until it's smooth, creamy, and it tastes just like chocolate peanut butter yogurt. And what I like to do is I like a little bit of crunch on my yogurt, so you could put a little bit of cereal or granola, or even some strawberries would taste good on this. And it really is the perfect snack to curb any chocolate peanut butter craving. The morning that we found out that I was carrying a little boy was actually Christmas morning. And that morning, before we found out, God gave me the name Oliver. And it was one that I would never have picked for my child. I thought instantly, I wonder what that name means. And the name Oliver means peace. And I thought, how fitting for the name peace after all that we had been through. And it was really symbolic of the peace that God taught us and brought us through and actually walked us through in that season. Coming up next, lasagna is a family favorite, layering cheese, meat, and spaghetti squash instead of a noodle. Once you taste this healthy option, you'll never go back. Well, we're moving on to one of my sure-to-please cravings, which was lasagna. And I'm pretty sure that everybody has a craving at some point for a lovely, gooey, cheesy lasagna.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah.
And so I make mine with spaghetti squash, of course, one of my favorite pasta alternatives. So I'm starting with the meat sauce. And I have some ground turkey in here, but you can use any ground meat that you like. Ground beef would also be wonderful. And I'm just gonna cook it up until it's just browned. And Sean, while I'm doing this, I'll have you make the cheese sauce.
Okay.
So, to the bowl, you can add 1 cup of cottage cheese. That's a great swap out for ricotta. It's a little bit lighter on calories, high in protein. You'll never know the difference for the taste or the texture.
Okay.
1 egg, a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese.
Okay.
And then save that shredded cheese for the top of the lasagna. And then to this meat sauce, when it's about 3/4 of the way done cooking, I'm gonna add my seasonings. So I have a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Turn the heat up a little bit just to medium-high just to finish cooking it off. And then I'm gonna add 1 jar of your favorite marinara sauce. So this is really simple. And I like this lasagna because it really does have all the layers of a traditional lasagna. We just swap out the noodles for spaghetti squash.
How's this look?
That looks wonderful. So Sean, what are you most excited for about meeting our son for the first time?
Well, I think I'm most excited to take him to the golf course. It's one thing that Maddie has not really loved to do with me yet, as she loves everything else I love, but the golf course, she's a little indifferent too. So.
Yeah, Maddie is truly a girly girl.
Yes.
She is like, loves her Barbies, her dolls, all things pink and glitter.
Princesses and unicorns and everything else. So.
That's right. And so when we found out we were having a boy, what was your first kind of thought?
Shock. I think we both expected to have another girl. It's just the way it seems to be going in our family is everybody who's had a girl has another girl and everybody who's had a boy has another boy. So
Yep, that's
we were
true.
kind of really expecting a girl, and then when we got the news it was a boy, we were both thrown for a loop.
Speaking of golf, the way that we found out that it was a boy is Sean hit a golf ball on
She
Christmas
finally let
Day.
me. Yes, she finally let me.
Yes.
So.
Well,
I wanted to do it for Maddie, but
yeah. Well, our first pregnancy, we found out the gender on Christmas Day again, and so I'm thinking it's snowing outside. Who really wants to go outside in the
it was
snow?
okay.
And so this year it was a little bit milder, so we decided to do the golf ball. Yeah. And we all saw the blue, and Maddie was really praying for a sister.
Yes.
Because, again, she has all boy cousins. So she was saying every night, "Dear God, I thank you for my little sister." And so Sean and I said, we just pray that this is a little sister. So when he hit the golf ball and it was blue, we just all shook our heads and laughed because we're all thinking about Maddie and all those prayers for a sister. And you know, the first thing she did was she kind of ran and she kind of hid.
Yeah, she was a little quiet.
She was quiet. She didn't really want to talk to anyone, and we were all thinking, this is
it
not
felt
like
very
Maddie.
mature for her age.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
almost like a teenage girl that was kind of just didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we finally got her to open up, and you know, it took a little bit of time, but now she's loving baby Oliver in my belly. She's kissing him and hugging him and tickling him.
And she's been full practice mode with every baby in our house, tucking in and dressing and everything.
So I layered one layer of the spaghetti squash in, so about half of the spaghetti squash. What I like to do is if you have a really big spaghetti squash, then you'll be good with just one. But if you have two smaller or medium, you kind of want to have two spaghetti squash for this recipe because it used quite a bit for that bottom layer. So then on top of the spaghetti squash, we're gonna add our meat sauce. And then we'll do half of the cheese sauce.
Half of this?
So
okay.
yep, Sean, you can come over here. And if you've never used a spaghetti squash, it's very simple.
Do we just pour it on?
Just kind of like dollop it in dollops. Yep, there you go. And then spread it with your spoon. And if you've never used a spaghetti squash, it's really simple. There's a lot of great, really simple recipes on Dashing Dish using the spaghetti squash where I explain how to use them. But basically, you just pierce it with a knife a few times, microwave it for about 10 minutes until it's tender, scrape the seeds out, and then scrape the strands out. And that looks great.
Looks good.
Then I'm basically just gonna repeat the layers. So just like a typical lasagna. And I could say that I could eat this just about every single day while I'm pregnant. I even did eat it in my first trimester when I was not feeling so great and kind of didn't know what to eat. This is something that really just sounded good all the time to me, which is pretty rare. So I definitely made this on repeat. I'm still making it and loving it. I think I'll eat it pretty much my whole pregnancy. So it'll be interesting to see.
I have a question for you. Is there anything in pregnancy that you've eaten that you can't eat after you're pregnant?
Not really tastes or food. I would say more smells.
Okay.
I definitely had,
Oh, yeah, you had some smell aversions.
Some smell aversions that I can't stand certain candles or smells, even now, from my first pregnancy with Maddie. So that's really just about the only thing. So now you can finish it off with that cottage cheese layer. And a lot of times when you make lasagna with vegetables, you'll notice that, especially zucchini, it's a little bit watery when you bake it up. This one really isn't watery because the spaghetti squash is layered in between, so it really does all just bake up really nicely. Okay, and then great, you're just gonna spread that cheese layer on, and then we can top it with the extra cheese.
Okay.
Doesn't this look good?
Looks so good.
So we're gonna put this in the oven, 425 degrees for about 30 minutes, just until the top is bubbly. You don't need to cover it at all. Well, it's been so fun to share our pregnancy journey with you guys today. I really do feel like you guys have become part of our family. And so it's been such a great thing for you guys to be able to see our family grow. And all of these recipes, of course, have been so much fun for me to make, being that I'm in my pregnancy journey and they truly are my cravings. So Sean, let's see if this craving hits the spot for you, the breakfast sandwich. And he is a breakfast connoisseur, so if he approves, then we know that it's really something great.
I'm always down for a good breakfast sandwich.
Okay, so you approve.
It's delicious.
Well, all of these recipes and more can be found at dashingdish.com, where you'll find recipes that nourish your body and soul.